Guys, this past weekend, I have had the privilege of being introduced to the Borderlands community. And by the way, our mic is going to sound pretty funky because I'm on the travel mic. I'm actually currently in LA right now. The room I'm in right now is also extremely small. So if you hear some echo, I do apologize. With that being said though, Borderlands has a fantastic community. From the creators that play this game, to just dedicated players, to the cosplayers. I would argue and say that Borderlands may just have the best set of cosplayers in all of gaming. It was an incredible time, guys. Gearbox spared no expense when it came to the delivery, the stage they set up, and for me, it was a great introduction into this community. With that being said though, we got to play Borderlands 4. And that's really what I wanted to talk about today. Just wanted to give you my first impressions. We will have like an overview video of Borderlands, but let me be very clear about this. If you're looking for like a veteran's take on Borderlands 4, man, I ain't it, dude. Trust me, there are many other creators and streamers that will be able to give you much better takes and much better comparisons between Borderlands 4 and previous Borderlands games. I'm very much a noob here. I played Borderlands 3. I didn't hardly play any Borderlands 1 or 2. I know 2 is considered the best. 3 was the one that I really heavily invested in, but pretty much like most of you, I got to Endgame and then just didn't really find anything else to do. And then that was it. We moved on to other games. Turns out Borderlands 3, after talking to a few people, Moxie included, has in-game. Matter of fact, I was told that they've even added a raid that would give us Destiny players a hard time. So at some point, I will be jumping back into Borderlands 3 just to give that raid content a go. I know the focus of today's video though is on Borderlands 4 though. Some of the things that were brought up was how big is Borderlands 4 going to be? I was straight up told that the map, which is very much an open world map, is bigger than Elden Ring's map. And that was directly from the developers themselves. Now, I did pull up the map. I wasn't able to see the entire map because, again, it seems like I need to push on further into the story to then access the northern portion of that map. But it's sizable. Even this beginning territory, where I'm very much a low level, is very sizable. Hence why we all have sparrows, or Borderlands version of sparrows, which, by the way, can I just say is absolutely amazing. You've got a boost on it. You can shoot with it. You even got like a rocket that you can shoot out of it. I don't know how many different variations of this sparrow is going to be present at launch, but it's funny because inside of Destiny, we just got our very first like battle sparrow, which is essentially what this thing is, but it makes moving around the map a lot easier. Now, even though this is an open world version of Borderlands, and if I remember correctly, Borderlands 3 was more of like zones. Borderlands 4 didn't seem to have, I don't think, any load zones. Like, I don't think there was a single point where we encountered Chop or a load screen, even when loading into like Borderlands version of Lost Sectors. There was also like world bosses that would spawn in. There was like a ship too that we got to encounter where you had to go up into the ship, engage a lot of different enemies, and do a mechanic, which we failed at not once, not twice, but 3 different times. It was tough, man, but incredibly fun at the same time, even when we were getting killed. One thing that is really noticeable to me with this Borderlands is the movement. I would say overall movement in this game has been turned up a lot more. You've got your grapple abilities, you've got your thrust abilities, which by the way, you can thrust in any direction. You can even thrust in air. My Destiny players, think like Twilight Garrison, without taking you out of first person. We have a thruster ability, but that's essentially what's present here. And you got double jump, like a true double jump, almost to the point where I felt like I was able to suspend myself. But that's something that's going to be really noticeable, I think, to everybody, including returning Borderland players, is that movement, which as a gameplay junkie, I like fast movement. I like the ability to develop momentum. I actually wonder if there's going to be some speedrunning tech inside of Borderlands that's going to allow you to really scoot through missions and speedrun. This also adds a lot of verticality. Many of these structures require you to scale, and there'll be things in walls that you can climb on. There'll be grapple points that you can pull yourself on. And so as wide and as big as the map may be, I was really surprised with the places that we could ascend to and also the places we could descend into. Now, I do want to apologize. There's a lot of lingo that I just don't have when it comes to Borderlands games. So if I'm making like a lot of comparisons here between Borderlands and other games, like for instance, calling out one of these places on the map is similar to like a lost sector inside of Destiny. That's just the noob in me, guys. But coming from Destiny, one important thing that every Destiny player asks is how is the gunplay? That's been a staple inside of Bungie games since the Halo days. And my experience with Borderlands gunplay is that it's solid and hysterical. The fact that you got like guns with legs, instead of reloading your weapon, you just throw it at the enemy. Look, it's been years since I played Borderlands 3 and I've kind of like just forgotten everything. insane, but that stuff, man, just cracks me up. Is it over the top? Perhaps, but it's Borderlands style, and I very much enjoyed it. But mechanically, I would say that Gunplay feels pretty solid. Now, during my limited time playing, I did get a few legendaries, one of which people were calling the Doom Shotgun, which was cool. Someone did say that it was missing its original animation. I'm not sure which animation that is, but that's really the only legendary I got, weapon-wise. Outside of that, we killed this boss about 3-4 times, which did surprisingly have some pretty interesting mechanics. Nothing too crazy. There's like a moment where like the floor is lava, where all this poison AoE damage was occurring. Maybe it was corrosive, I don't know. But you had to jump up to these platforms and shoot the spores on top to essentially break the cocoon. What I really liked about the fight was that there are ways you can just straight up dodge attacks. It's almost like you can iframe through them if you dodge at the perfect moment, which does allow you to play somewhat aggressive and in your enemy's face, even if it's a boss. Now, let me just say I had a lot of noob moments in that live stream. I think at one point there was a legendary that dropped and I walked right past it, which every Borderlands player in the stream was losing their mind over. Trust me, guys, I'm about as newbie as they come when it comes to this game. But with my limited time playing it so far, I enjoyed it. Pretty much to the point where they had to ask me to leave the stage. And we were way past our dedicated stream time. And I had 2 people that actually came up to me and was like, hey, listen, you got to get off this thing in the next 10 minutes. But it was good. It was enjoyable. And I think the thing that's really going to pull me in with this Borderlands game is the exploration side of things. Now, I don't really know narratively in its story how much different it's going to be from, say, Borderlands 3. I have heard things that is kind of returning to form from Borderlands 2. Comedy is there, but not too over the top, a little more elevated to our age. And then the world itself is completely new as well. We've moved away from Pandora. I really love the intro that Randy gave for it. And let me just say, guys, this was the first time I ever met Randy. That dude is hysterical. I know he says some things on Twitter, but IRL, dude's funny as hell. And he also seems to have a good relationship with the people that he works with. And I only bring this up because I do know CEOs present at other game development companies that are literally never there. Like, you never see them. It's almost as if they interact with their teams by proxy, and it's shameful. And at least outwardly looking in, it seemed like Randy had a good relationship with his team, and Gearbox as a whole seemed to be wholly dedicated on delivering Borderlands to their fans the way Borderlands is supposed to be. That was something that was reiterated over and over, was that this was going to be a Borderlands game devoted to their community. Now, in terms of the look of the game, Borderlands, of course, has that same aesthetic that it's always had. I would say this one's a bit more polished. Yes, it's cartoony, but it's also like grounded a bit more in a level of realism. The environments felt fleshed out, and I found myself enjoying all of the different biomes that I got to experience. For my build crafters out there, I know build diversity is a huge thing for you guys. Again, I'm probably not the person to ask for that. I got to experience just a very limited amount of that. 2 classes I got to play were pretty cool. One was Vex, the Dark Siren, and she essentially like puts down these clones everywhere, which is pretty cool. And you can like build into those clones to make them a lot stronger, or you can even like utilize them to offer overshields and support to your teammates. The other class I got to play was Rafa, an Exo Soldier. He's the one with like the melee arms that turn into blades. He also has like the turrets that pop up over his shoulder, which do a pretty decent amount of damage. But those are the only 2 classes we got to play. There will be, of course, more than that at launch. I'm definitely eyeing Eamon. He seems a little more my speed. In terms of weapons, though, I think the sky's the limit on that one, guys. I mean, you know how Borderlands is. They've got crazy weapons. I have heard that they're kind of like taking a step back when it comes to drop rates. Essentially, they said that Borderlands 3, or at least some of the creators I had talked to, that Borderlands 3 and its drop rates were just too plentiful, too much, too many legendaries. Sounds like they're kind of making drops mean more in Borderlands 4, which is a good thing. I was actually talking to you guys the other day when we were streaming, and I didn't even realize that there was another rarity called, I think it was called Pearl. So yeah, at some point, I need to just return back to Borderlands 3 and really just kind of embed myself in that game for a bit before I go back into Borderlands 4. I know they're 2 different games, but one thing I have been told about Borderlands 3 is despite its failings in the narrative department, people have stated that they really like the builds in that game, the gameplay, the mechanics, the in-game that they've ended up adding over the years. And that's what I would say Borderlands 4 really needs to get right. I really don't want to be in a situation where I do find myself investing all this time into the game to just get to in-game and there be nothing to do. And I know I come from like a place of luxury here. It's like, dude, you get to play video games throughout the day. What about the guy working 9 to 5? It's a very valid point, but it is a reason why I've quit a lot of different games. One being New World. I ran into a similar situation with that one too, where we got to the end and essentially all all we had left to do was just farming world bosses over and over, and it was just grinding watermarks, which took so many hours, and it was just mind-numbing. And we really didn't get an endgame for a very, very long time. And by the time it came, I'd already moved on. And it's not that I didn't come back to New World, but I definitely didn't come back with the same ferocity that I played when it first initially launched. Borderlands 3, kind of the same way. We dedicated a ton of time to it, then we got to endgame. There really wasn't a whole lot. I love that Borderlands 4 has this seamless open world that's a true co-op experience that I can get a squad of 4 together with. I also love that we seem to get sidetracked by literally everything while trying to do whatever our main objective was, which is exactly what open world games should feel like. You are supposed to get sidetracked. The way open world games should feel is that it should feel open, it should feel like it has endless possibilities, and that you just run into one thing after another, and thus you are immersed. I really hope Borderlands is able to pull that off at launch. And then beyond that, I'm hoping the end game is going to truly satisfy us. And that's something I'm going to be doing pretty much over the next few days, guys, is immersing myself into what exactly Borderlands 4 is going to be shipping with, what that end game is going to entail. Because as of right now, man, September is pretty open for me. This is probably a game I'm going to lose many, many hours to. And I hope to get hundreds, if not thousands of hours out of this game. So far, all I can say is that the bones currently feel really good. And I saw a lot of negativity, particularly in our YouTube stream yesterday. For once ever, Twitch chat was actually more tame than our YouTube chat, but there seems to be a lot of controversy, comments about the price of the game, which it seems like Gearbox has rolled back to being $70 instead of $80. The other controversy was something around data being stolen or something. I haven't really looked into any of this, guys, but I do want to just mention that at the end of the day, I know we get really caught up in the sauce when it comes to games and development cycles, and especially when it comes to Bungie and Marathon. There's been a lot of controversy with that one since the very beginning. So much so, we could probably have a 40-50 minute video going over every controversy with Marathon. With that being said though, yesterday's event, just sitting there watching the cosplayers and the Borderlands community and just seeing how excited these people are to be getting another Borderlands game, it just humbled me. It made me just realize that this is a hobby, man. This is something that we get to enjoy and we get to have fun and we get to bring people together and grab a couple friends and shoot some bad guys. And obviously, I'm not saying that we should overlook bad behavior from companies or certain individuals, especially in leadership. But what I experienced was a loving community this past weekend that is super psyched to be playing Borderlands and just happy to just be there. So for my Borderlands players, we'll be diving into all the depth that this game has to offer. You guys already probably know the best creators that are already covering Borderlands content. So I highly advise, if you're looking for a really good assessment of the game and its comparisons to previous Borderlands games, definitely go check those guys out. This is just more of my rough take of my experience with Borderlands 4, and I'll be diving into the systems just so that I can become more familiar with the game, just to be prepared for its launch. Overall, I enjoyed what I got to play. I'm going to be playing Borderlands at launch, and I look forward to grabbing some friends and just having a very fun time. I really do hope the narrative really lands. Listening to some of the dialogue, I enjoyed the humor, the layout of this new world. Even Randy's intro of its backstory and lore was really, really solid and compelling enough that I'm interested. And if I'm interested, I think that Borderlands players are definitely going to be interested as well. So guys, those are my thoughts. That was my experience this past weekend. Thank you so much for watching the live stream this past weekend as well, and also to the individuals that I got to meet over the course of Saturday. It was an absolute pleasure. I mean what I say. I think the cosplaying community for Borderlands is second to none, and it was just great to witness it. So guys, that's it, fellas and ladies. Thank you all for coming and watching, and as always,
slap that like button like your mama told you right.